Hello everybody, this is Terry Jeanette with the Tapping Flamingo. Today I have an old video that I did on how to wire wrap shell fragments. I'm also here with my granddaughter. But anyway, I know a lot of us are probably fixing to go to the beach one last time before the summer's over with. And this is a great way for you to pick up a little souvenir off from the beach, wrap it up and put it into a necklace. Hope you enjoy this video.
Now, there's a lot of different ways to wrap seashells, and it all depends on what kind of shell you have. A lot of them come with existing holes, like these, and I have several videos on my YouTube channel that I show on how to wrap these, and we are actually not going to wrap one like this. These are actually one of the easier ones to do. And if you're interested in learning how to do that, just hop on over to my YouTube channel and look under my playlist Seashells. And like I said, I have numerous videos on how to do that over there. Today, I'm going to address how to wrap a seashell fragment. So, what is a seashell fragment? Well, it's just a piece of a shell. Here's an example of what I'm going to show you how to do. It's just a part of a bigger shell that may have gotten stepped on or crushed by the ocean. And this was a much bigger shell than this at one time. But I think they're just as pretty as these. Sometimes even prettier. Look at this one. It is so pretty. You can kind of see a coral color in there. This one has different colors. And if you notice, sometimes you have the ridges going up and down, and sometimes they're going sideways. And there's two different ways to wrap them that are the best ways. And anyway, that's what we're going to do today. So let me clear my space and let's get to wrapping. So when you first get your shell, you need to kind of inspect it a little bit. It's like, let's just take this one for instance. You could wrap it this way, maybe this way, which I would not recommend, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You could wrap it this way. I'm going to wrap it this way. I want the ridges to go from side to side, and I want the point to go down. I want the wider portion to be at the top. And the reason is because when you start to wire it, once you finish it, you don't want the ability, like if we were to do it this way, of the wire not grasping a hold of it good enough, especially when you're first starting out, and it could just slide through. But if it's bigger at the top, it's going to have a hard time sliding through and popping out. So that's one reason I like to wrap them where the wider side is at the top. Plus the fact that I think it looks better. So for this piece right here, I originally was going to use copper, but I think that this coconut colored wire is going to be much better. And it's a 20 gauge wire. I usually like to use 22 or 20 gauge wire. If you get thicker or thinner than that, it's either going to be too hard to work with or it's not going to stay together as well. And I take my shell and I kind of measure a little bit here. And I would always rather have too much than too little. So for this particular piece, I'm probably going to cut off about that much, and I want two pieces the same size, just to give you a reference on how big this shell is. It's about 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch wide at the widest point, and I'm getting about 7.5 inches. And like I said, I want two pieces. Let me cut off another piece here. And they don't have to be exact. All right, the next thing you're going to do is I'm going to actually lay my wire in one of the ridges. And I could have elected to come up here, but I think I'm going to go down a little bit and try to center it as much as possible. And then take the other piece and put it directly behind that. And kind of get them about even. So once you have that on one side, you're just going to twist. And I try to twist it pretty tight. 1, 2, 3 twists. And then I lay it up on the shell like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3. And then, so you have this. Okay. So now you've got 2 pieces in the front and 2 pieces in the back. And basically, you're going to hang on to that wire so it doesn't slip out. See how I'm hanging on to it in the back here? And then I'm going to put these 2 together and I'm going to twist again. Try to twist it pretty tight. 1, 2, 3. And I don't have it quite even in the middle, but that's okay. Not a problem. So then in the back, you're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you had a bigger shell, I might twist 5 times, but this is kind of a small shell. Okay, so now we've got these 4 pieces, and I'm just bringing them up. And like I said, if it's a bigger shell, you may want to go one more time, but these are little shells, so we're just doing it a couple times. And then once I get them up, I'm going to twist them again here. This time, I'm going to twist until I run out of wire. And it doesn't have to be nice and neat and even. Just twist all the way. And see, we're not even here. I'm going to clip these off a little bit so we do have evenness to them. So you have this. Okay. Now if you want, you can go ahead and take your pliers, your flat nose pliers, and grab a hold of your wire and gently twist. And that just tightens the shell into the wire. And I don't think I'm going to twist anymore. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, now I want to actually make the bail. So I'm taking my round nose pliers, and I want it to be a pretty good sized bail. So I'm going to bring it down toward the bottom of the pliers, to the wide end of the pliers, and just bend this over like so. And just wrap this around. And then we have all these ends here. Just take them and find a place to tuck them in. So whoever's going to wear this, it's not going to scratch them. And I've got about 3 or 4 pieces here that I want to tuck in. But I just want to make sure everything's tucked in nice and neat. And then I go back and I kind of feel around. Straighten that up. See, that's pokey right there. So I want to make sure that's tucked in better. And there we have one of our shell fragments. You could put this on whatever you want. You can use it on a Blythe pole charm. You can use it as a necklace. Just put a chain through there. You could use it as a zipper pole. So now I'm going to show you how to do one like this. All right, for this one, I'm trying to decide. This is 20 gauge copper wire. This is 22 gauge copper wire. I think I'm going to use a 20 gauge. I don't know if I want it so shiny. This is shinier than this. Okay, this is a little different. We have the ridges going up and down. These ridges were going sideways. And you could still do this one like this, but I'm going to show you another way that I like to do it. So I need to determine how long I want my bail, how long I want this part to make my bail. We'll put it that way. And I think I want that much. So we're talking about 4.5 inches from here to the top of the shell, okay? And so I'm going to lay it between the two ridges, and then I'm going to come up. I always like to work with my wire on the spool here. So I'm going to come up to the back, and then I'm going to wrap. Sorry, I got out of frame there. Okay, and then I'm going to come back down in the back. That's what it's looking like in the back. And then I want to find another ridge that I want to come up. And sometimes it'll tell you where it wants to be. For some reason, this one is telling me that it wants to be right there. So I'm going to say okay. So I'm going to go back around. I'm going to clip it off. And it's still kind of spoingy here. So you got to keep an eye, you got to hang on to it pretty tightly. I'm not going to go back around there. I'll just do that. Okay, now I have my two pieces and I'm going to twist. I want to twist them as tight as I can get them. All the way up. Okay, once I get to the top there, I'm going to come back down here, and I want to tighten this. Now, this is an important step. It's kind of loose, and your shell could pop out, and you don't want that to happen. So you really do need to tighten this up, but you also need to be very careful. This shell is kind of thin, so you don't want to tighten it too much because you will crack your shell. So you've got to be very careful with that. And basically, I'm just going to grab a hold and gently tighten. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm going to go the same, well, no, I'm going to go the opposite direction. Okay. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and tighten here too. You see how when I moved it before this was moving? Now that it's tightened, it's not moving so much. See how that's moving? I think you can tell. I'm going to try to tighten it just a little bit. And I'm going to go that direction. And see, now it's tight. Okay? So now we are going to make our loop. Again, I want a larger loop, so I'm going to go down to the bottom of my round nose pliers, spin this around, and just wrap. Again, you need to be very careful when you wrap. And some of this I may be cutting off, I'm not sure. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I really like that. And it's in there pretty tight. I am going to clip this off a little bit though. One at a time, not both of them together. And then I need to tuck those two ends like I did on the other shell. Now, with all that fiddling around, sometimes these may get a little bit looser. And if that's the case, you need to be really careful though. I am going to tweak these just a little bit. I think they're okay. Yep, it's going to stay in there. So here we go. We have our two shells. We have one with the ridges going up and down, one with the ridges going from side to side. Now before I close, I'm going to refer back to this shell. You probably noticed that the ridges are going up and down here, and I wrapped it like I did for when the ridges were going the opposite direction. I'm not saying you can't wrap like this when the ridges are going up and down. I'm just showing you another option. It's harder to wrap this way on this type of shell than it is to wrap this way on this type of shell. And this is what that looks like when the ridges are going vertical. Here's an example of what you can do with some of these. You can just tie them on the end. This one I didn't even wire at all. I just put a piece of string through there and tied it onto her cord like that. But you could actually take one of these and tie it on the end of these dolls' eye pull charms. Or, like I said before, you could make a zipper pull and put them on a bag, or you could hang them on a necklace. You could just take like for this one, I would just take a piece of antique wire chain and just put through there and just wear it as a simple necklace. I want to thank y'all for joining me. Y'all have a great day. This is Terry Jeanette with the Tapping Flamingo signing out for now. Bye-bye.